Okay.
Scooby-Doo!
Well, welcome to our podcast where we talk about real financial problems with real people and come up with real solutions. My name is Irene Meyer.
And I am Philip Villanueva, here to try my best to help Irene Meyer make sense of all this information.
Yes. And speaking of making sense, we were just chatting about how we come across many clients who have investments set up, sometimes with the same company in multiple different pockets, and it just simply doesn't make any sense. And we were talking about somebody in particular who had multiple TFSA accounts, I think you were saying.
Yes.
And I don't know if you actually broached the question of why he had it. Did he ever come up with an
It,
answer?
it was literally just because he had three different accounts at the same institution, but three different locations. And each location, somebody talked to him about setting up a TFSA. Now, this is where I have an issue with that scenario. And I actually mentioned this to that gentleman, is they should see that in his account, in his profile. They should have saw that he had a TFSA set up. So why would they set up a completely separate? I am guessing that they were bonused on setting up something,
Yeah.
right? And whatever. I don't even know. It's just a guess on my part. But in the end, was that in the client's best interest, or was that for the bank's best interest? Who knows? Who cares? What in the end, what eventually happened was, for he's had this account since 1990 something or whatever. Like, it was, or 19. No, he had it for a lot of years. I'm totally guessing at the years, but it was a lot. Like, since TFSA's pretty much started.
2019.
2019, that's what it was. So I had I knew 19 was in there.
Yeah.
2019. So since 2019, he set this up from the very get-go and was making next to nothing on a return.
What do you
Right.
mean next to nothing? Did you get to see what he was making
Yeah.
or?
The highest since inception of all three accounts was 6% on growth portfolios.
Really?
Yes. I was like,
Really? That's
and to you guys out there watching this, that might mean nothing to you, but a growth portfolio is supposed to be a very strong, aggressive, somewhat aggressive portfolio. But the rate of return is, we'll think of this like interest rate, but it's not. It's, just think of it for layman's terms. And a lot of very conservative, or very people who don't want to take chances or risk, might get a 5 or 6% rate of return, a portfolio set up for themselves. Now, this was a growth portfolio set up for this gentleman, but the best one that he was getting was this, just shy of 6%. We didn't even reach it, just shy of it.
so I'm curious to find out when you were showing him options that you could offer. I think a lot of people would probably be skeptical, right? Because they're like, why would my bank not show me something like this kind of rate of return? Did he say anything?
Oh, he had four accounts altogether, an RSP and three TFSAs. Okay. So he was very skeptical. So he only gave me one to start.
Okay.
Okay. So he gave me, and the one that he gave me was making the lowest rate of return. So I think it was just around three and change.
Hmm.
Okay. So he gave me that one because if it failed, then he didn't really lose much, the way he was thinking.
Right.
Yeah. That account's getting 28% currently. So
Wow.
yeah, so within the first year, that account jumped up to, I think it was getting 18 or 20%. So it didn't take him long to decide that he was going to transfer all the rest of his accounts over.
No kidding.
Yeah. So once he started seeing what he actually gave up, because imagine that, from 2019 to, I think, a year and a half ago now, he gave up a pretty big margin of income.
Actually, it's not even 2019, Phil. Now that I'm thinking, the TFSAs came out in 2009.
Nine. That's what I thought.
I know,
2009.
and I'm like thinking, wait a minute, 2019 is not that long from now. No, this,
Yeah.
sorry,
So
folks, we're both
yeah,
tired.
it's okay. It's just the Filipino in us. We're
Okay.
not very good with time.
Boy. Okay. Yes,
Okay, so
2009, folks. So 2009, he got 6%. Like that to me is just like, what?
yeah, and just think of that. He could have, but didn't, could have been getting a higher rate of return. Now, here's something to understand, and it's very important to understand that the rate of return. So let's say Irene and I are setting up TFSAs. So let's say I did mine yesterday with the exact same profile and Irene does hers today. It does not mean we're going to get the same rate of return. The when you do it, the timing you do it, and all of that is very reflective on that. Just because he's getting that doesn't mean if someone else did it now that they're going to get 28%. It just doesn't happen like that. So please keep that in mind. But the performance as a whole should be reflective somewhat. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Edit. Okay. So anyway, so as a whole, it should have some kind of commonality, consistency in general. If you're getting from since inception, I always tell everyone, look at the inception date. Look from when the accounts first started. Don't look at 1 year ago because you could have had a major spike in that year and now you're seeing 12% or whatever. And then like one client I had, he got 12% this year. So I'm doing really good. I got 12% until I got him to look at his inception date. Since inception, he didn't even know to look there, and I showed him where to look on his statement to get that, and that was at 0.9%. This is the lowest I've ever seen. 0.9% rate of return since inception, and he was quite shocked to see that. But he did have a spike of 12% at one point in that year, so that fiscal year showed 12%. So that's what he thought he was getting. No, that's not what you're getting.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a misconception when, and I hope that people realize too that advisors will play that game too, right? So we might be talking about 20% for some investments. Phil did the most integral part by pointing out that looking at the inception date is where you should be looking to determine a pretty average, consistent rate of return. And I hope those of you guys who are watching, you at least give somebody the opportunity to give you a second opinion. Some of you guys are a little bit resistant. I think there are certain things that people are resistant to getting a second opinion on. I think one of the things, just like a lot of things, is they think it's too much of a hassle. They think it's too much of a hassle to get all their information and bring it to the new advisor who's going to give them a second opinion. And that's, to me, is sorry, I don't mean to sound like this, but it's being lazy. When right now you shouldn't be lazy about your money, especially if it means that you could be getting more money on your money. And who doesn't want more money? We complain about paying too much in taxes or the cost of things going up, but like in your own very backyard, you could be controlling your money that you're saving right now. And so I would encourage you to get a second opinion. And it isn't very hard work, is it, Phil, to do a comparison?
No, and I'm going to show you. I'm actually going to show you because it's interesting that you wanted to make this our topic today because I was thinking about this all day today. I wanted to show you guys. We often wait, right? And we wait, and or we'll sit there. We'll talk to an advisor that might actually give us a great strategy, but we sit on that knowledge. We don't actually act on that knowledge, and I want to show you what that might do to you as the person who wants to earn passive income. So I'm going to share my screen here with you guys if that's okay, Irene.
Yeah, are you able to?
Yeah, I'm going to do that right now. I hope I can. Okay, so once I find where this might be, give me a second. It's not showing what I want to show. I just got to close a few other windows here for privacy, and I think I'll be able to get this now. Okay, so I'm going to share this screen with you. So what this is going to be an example of is a 20-year-old, right, who is going to decide that he's going to take, a lot of 20-year-olds are working, right? How many of us out there are throwing away, like they might be making what on a biweekly pay? What would you say is an average biweekly pay right now?
For a 20-year-old?
Yeah, like a 20-year-old might be making $17, $18 an hour, right?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe biweekly with take taxes.
800, 900 bucks,
Yeah, maybe even, let's say even $1,000.
$1,000. So let's say $1,000, right?
Full-time job,
So
right?
So yeah, one job, and they're working full time, and they're getting paid biweekly. They're making about $1,000 every 2 weeks. Take home, okay? It might be less than that. I'm guessing it's probably eight and change or whatever after the government decides they're going to dip into your pocket. But in the end, out of that $800, realistically, how much of that are you throwing in the garbage by like spending on things that you don't necessarily need? So let's say it's $150 a paycheck. It's probably more than that, but let's say it's $150 a paycheck. You're just spending freely. Okay. But if you took that $150 every paycheck and invested it for just 8 years, that's it. No more than 8 years. Okay. So let's just, can you get your calculator? You got your calculator. 8 years, $350, or we'll do 150, right? So $300, $300. Change the math here. $300. Okay. Every paycheck monthly for 8 years. So that's 300 times 12 times 8, right? And what's that work out to?
8.
So you are going to, through the course of your life, that's it. You're just going to invest $28,800. That's it. If you started now at the age of 20 and you just did that to age 60, right, for the next 40 years, that's an early retirement, FYI, early retirement at age 60. And let's say you're getting a 10% rate of return. You're going to walk away with just shy of $1 million.
Okay, so let's just clarify this though. So you're only contributing for 8 years, but you're letting it grow past the 8 years up.
Yeah, you're not touching it. It's
Right.
just sitting there until retirement, but you've only put away $28,000 for your retirement. By just putting away $28,000, investing it properly, you're going to be a millionaire.
So
Okay?
that's 28.8 turning into 915,000.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So I don't know about all of you 20-year-olds out there watching, but let's say you didn't say invest your money. You didn't talk to an advisor and you just kept, how many of your parents have $1 million sitting in the bank? Think about that. Now, the reason why your parents don't have $1 million is because they waited or they didn't act on it. And I'm going to show you this one. This is number 2. Okay. So this is a 40-year-old who waited till they were 40. They're not just putting away $300 a month. They're going to put away $800 a month because they're 40 years old and they need to put in more money because they're trying to save up. It's the exact same interest rate. Remember how you had just shy of $1 million out there? Okay, if you put in $800, more than double, right? You're going to have $362,000. You have lost $600,000.
That is crazy.
Now, let's say you decided to wait till you were 50. But because you waited till you're 50, you're going to put it away $1,000 a month, every single month. One, how many of you have $1,000 you can put away every single month? Not very many people, especially at age 50 if you waited. You're going to retire at 60, same amount. You are going to walk away with a whopping $175,000. You just gave away $800,000.
So what could you tell all of our viewers today? What is the biggest lesson here? If you could.
The biggest lesson here is think smart. Think about that. For all of you out there,
tangible lesson.
Everyone wants to be smart about, everyone's trying to find the easy road. You tell me, what's the easy road? Putting away $1,000 a month or putting away $300 a month? What's the easy road?
Yeah.
Same number of years, 8 years.
Yeah.
Right? Again, let's do the math. You have your calculator. $1,000 a month times 8 years. You have a choice of just saving $28,800 or saving.
You're saving more money.
$96,000.
Yeah. Oh my.
To only earn $175,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. It's just a no-brainer. And this isn't gambling money. This isn't, oh, we're gambling the money and we're not going to. No, this is a reality. Yeah. If you invest your money properly, there's a good chance you're going to get a good growth portfolio is going to get you averaging around 10%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's not like a far cry. That's not someone just stretching I'm not saying, right? I told you one of my clients is a lot of my clients right now are getting in the 20s. So I'm not saying 20%. I'm saying 10%.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. 8 to 10. That's very conservative still on a growth.
And that's responsible of you to say.
Yeah, you are going to get the advisors that throw those out there and say, oh, you're going to always get 17. You're not always going to get 17. Those are going to be spikes for sure. You're going to get those kind of things. But just to play it safe, let's say 8 to 10%. If you're getting that at age 20 and you stop only 8 years. That's it. Just 8 years. You'll be 28. You'll only be 28 years old, right? And now you don't even have to think about the investment part at all. You're done with it. Just you don't have to keep putting money away. I wouldn't. I would keep putting money away, but if you didn't want to, that's it. You're done. By the time you decide you retire, you got $1 million.
Yeah, that's crazy. And you're right. Like pointing out how many of you guys know your parents have $1 million in the bank?
Yeah.
And
Most
not,
of you are going to say no,
yeah,
right? Like that's the 1 percentile has that. That there's another 99% of us that are going to answer no. And why is that? Because they waited. Because there was other things more important.
right.
Okay, fair enough. You want to say that's more important. Okay, are your parents struggling now? Are your parents worrying about their bills now? Are they all of those things? So you got to think about what's important because there's going to be a time where the rebound effect and all of these things, recovery time, losing a job, trying to recover, that's going to become a lot more difficult,
Yeah.
right? And if you don't prepare for the unexpected, right? And realistically, that's what financial planning is. It's preparing for the unexpected. It's not necessarily about building your wealth because you could build your wealth all you want, but if something unexpected is going to take all of that away, you really haven't built your wealth, have you?
No,
Right? So
no.
preparing, you have to cover all avenues. So that's why there's insurances in place because we've only put 28,000 away. We haven't put $1 million away. At 28, you don't have $1 million yet. It still has to grow to age 60, right?
Hmm.
So what's going to happen between 28 and 60? You have to cover the unexpected,
Yeah.
right? What if you lost your job? You don't want to dip into that 28,000 anymore,
No.
right? That's money that has to sit, right? So if you dip into it, if you keep taking money from it, oh, I'm just going to take 1,000 here. I'll put 1,000 back later, or all this stuff. Even if you do that, you've given up a return, right? So
Yeah.
that affects the overall big picture,
Right.
and people don't realize that,
Yeah.
right? It has to be put away money,
Yeah. And
right?
that those numbers are really eye-opening. I'll be honest with you. Just looking at those numbers, I'm like, I can already think of a few parents out there that should be watching this, not to make them feel bad, but to get them to start educating their kids, especially if they're adult kids. Listen, go talk to Phil, go talk to Auntie Irene, go talk to, you know what I mean? That's
Why
really,
can't I be Uncle Phil?
well, I don't know. I don't know. You could be Uncle Phil. Yeah, no, this is such a great video to really show the people out there. And the original question was, why did this guy have so many TFSAs? And I really wanted to bring back to the conversation that the banks are great for products that they sell. A lot of them have been around for over 200 years. Okay. I used to work at that one, but you have to understand that your financial situation is only as good as the advisors that helped you. And so if you've had multiple advisors because a lot of them have moved, they've grown in their career, so they don't deal with people like you anymore, you can rest assured that that bank is probably churning over a bunch of advisors really with no training at all. And so you're getting advisors who might still live in the basement of their parents' house trying to give you advice, by the way, when you're a 50-year-old and you're still in your mortgage debt and you don't have enough for retirement. Now, think about that. Okay. So if you think that your financial picture is getting well taken care of by the bank, I can tell you with certainty it is not. And I know I might probably get backlash for that, but I worked at the bank for so long. You're not. That guy who got 3 different TFSAs with the same bank, but 3 different locations, those 3 advisors were just being selfish. For whatever reason, they got compensated. They don't really get compensated, but they get recognized for the money they bring in. And as long as it shows that it's new, they will get recognized and compensated, much like the manager who trained them. So that's why they gave this guy 3 different account numbers, which is crazy, when they should have just added. They should have just added to the existing TFSA he had. Now he gets 3 different statements. And I mean, how annoying is that? 3 different statements, probably at 3 different times, because of course it's based on when you set up the TFSA. Like, how annoying is that? And I bet you they didn't even give him any advice. They just opened it up for him. They didn't even say, hey, question, why didn't you max out your RRSPs? To me, it's like somebody who has that kind of money to put away into TFSAs. Now, again, I'm not sure what his belief in RSPs are, but I know that if somebody has that kind of money to put into TFSAs, chances are they haven't been educated about maybe how an RSP could have benefited him as well. And that's why I think that leaving it up to the banks to give sound advice is the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, and it is a shame too, because I don't like this gentleman I've only been working with now for the past, I want to say, year, but prior to, I don't know, did he pay taxes on his tax returns? Things of that nature. Was that question ever asked to him? Because that's a great way to reduce your taxes on during tax season, is using your RSP contributions, right? Reduce your taxes. The gentleman now is retired. He doesn't have an income anymore, so there's no real sense to build up his RSP at this point, right? So it's really interesting. Exactly what you said. What was the logic in setting up these profiles for this gentleman? Now, here's the thing though. He's had it for so long, since 2009, right? So he's conditioned to having 3 different accounts. So when I met with him, he still wanted to have 3 different TFSAs because that's what he's conditioned. But I set him up with 3 very strong profiles, all separate, but they're still very strong, right? And that's all I could do. I didn't add him on because that's he wanted to have kind of comparisons. And okay, I'm not going to argue with them, but I had to find the 3 almost equivalent performing just for his benefit. And so I've set him up that way. But I was very transparent with him. I said the last one is going to be considerably less than the other 2, just because of these other 2 are just really good performers, right?
Right.
So this other one, I said it's going to be less of a performance, but a lot more consistent per se. And so he was, in the end, he was happy. He saw that adversity. I talked to him. One had more of an American market to it. One had more of a Canadian market to it. One had more of a global market. So I explained everything to him and let him understand where everything was diversified.
Mhm.
And in the end, he's happy. The 2 that he had before are extremely doing well, and the last 2 just got transferred recently. The last TFSA and the RSP just recently, so I don't know what performance they're going to be sitting at. But yeah, this gentleman now he's set. He's got a one-stop shop now. If he's got any questions, he doesn't have to go to 3 different locations to get different answers all the time. He can get all in one spot. And in the end, if your advisor is doing the right thing, they will be very transparent with you, and they're gonna make sure that you understand what you're
Oh,
doing,
yes. Yeah.
right?
That's the most important part to somebody who's good, is to making sure their clients understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is, as an advisor, and I'm sure Irene, it can be frustrating sometimes, like anything. Okay, how many of you guys that are watching this right now have tried to explain computers to your parents? Right? Or tried to show them how to use something on the computer, so you understand our frustration as advisors. Okay, so that's what happens sometimes, trying to explain how to do something to another person who may not have any exposure or experience to it can be difficult at times, and you may have to have more than one conversation with us. We can appreciate that, but don't ever be scared to let your advisor know that you don't get it.
Yes, that's so important, is to your advisor to also be transparent,
Yeah.
right? You have to be transparent to your advisor as well for them to do a good job of
Yeah.
helping you. That was a really good illustration. I appreciated you sharing your screen. And I guess till next time, we'll see you guys later. Hope you guys got value from that. Make sure you like, comment, and share this video, guys, because I think more importantly, you could probably be helping somebody out, if not yourself.
Mhm. And yes, please share this on, like, feel free to share our videos onto your own personal social medias, because word of mouth is great, but everyone's looking at your Facebooks, at your Instagrams. Feel free to share our videos on there, and that way more and more people can see and benefit from the services that we're offering.
Yep, absolutely. Have a good day, everybody.
Take care.